welcome to the next installment of Journey Through John, where we're going through the book of John, little bite-sized chunks and having conversations. And today we're continuing through chapter 7 as we continue to talk about Jesus and how he's once again opening up and trying to tell people who he truly is. And we're seeing them kind of miss the point here a little bit, and it's causing kind of a muddying of the waters, though, because the religious leaders seriously want him out of the way, and so they're willing to do things like try to kill him. And there's some Jewish people that would follow that. There's also some Jewish people that are like, maybe this is the guy. And then some of those people who are in the maybe crowd are like, maybe there's more signs. Let's see what else he can do, because he's done a lot of signs. That'd be great. I like to see more signs. And that's the environment that Jesus is in. And so today we're going to jump into verses 32 through 36. And today we're just this little chunk we're going to dive into. Verse 32 says this: the Pharisees heard the crowd muttering, and they're muttering about that confusion. These things, they were muttering these things about him. And the chief priests and the Pharisees sent officers to arrest him. Jesus then said, I will be with you a little longer, and then I am going to him who sent me. You will seek me, and you will not find me. Where I am, you cannot come. The Jews said to one another, where does this man intend to go that we will not find him? Does he intend to go to the dispersion among the Greeks and teach the Greeks? What does he mean by saying you will seek me and you will not find me? And where I am, you cannot come. Once again, that little thread we see through the book of John is that people kept missing the point with who Jesus was, right? And so they're like, maybe he's going to go to the dispersion. He's going to go to the Greek towns and talk to them about that. And certainly that wasn't at all what Jesus meant. Jesus is talking about he's going to be with them for a while, but then he's going to go back to home, if you will, for him. He's going to go back to heaven and be by his Father. And so we see this, and people are wondering, is this guy like this amazing hide-and-seek guy or something? I don't know what the deal is. They're trying to figure it out because they don't quite understand what he's saying. But what he's saying is, I told you before that I'm from him. He sent me, my Father, my real Father, my God, my Father has sent me here, and there's a reason for me to be here. I'm not going to be here forever, and so I want you to hear what I'm telling you, because sometime I'm going to have to go back home when all this is said and done, and I've done my job to redeem mankind. And they just missed it. And that's what we see here, and they're still confusing. They're just not getting it. And so often, I think there's so many things that even when we read our Bible, when we read what Jesus has said, that we just don't get it. And I think for a large portion of my life, and I'm not saying I get it all now, I would say that in my faith, in my Christian walk, there's so many things I don't get. And a lot of it was because either I didn't care enough to search myself, or the people I sat under teaching-wise, they've been told one thing, and so they just taught what they've been told, and they may not have done the searching themselves. And that's not an accusation against anybody. It's something we can all be confused, and we need to be careful not to teach out of confusion. What we need to do is admit that we don't know sometimes, as we talked recently about. When we don't know, trust Jesus and go with that. The reality is that when we see what's going on here, and Jesus is trying to speak plainly to them and say, if you knew what we read here in the Old Testament, as everybody who trained to be a religious leader at that time, if you were a rabbi, you knew the Old Testament memorized. As well, if you were one of the disciples of those rabbis, you knew the Old Testament, you had it memorized. You knew exactly what it said. And Jesus would be telling them, if you know this stuff, and even the Jewish people, they may not have it memorized, but they'd have a good idea about it. If you knew what was being what you said you have memorized, if you really understood it, you'd know that it's me. I'm the one. And that means I've been sent here by the Father. And that means that if I've been sent here, and I'm who I say I am, and who the Word says I am, I'm going to go back. You need to hear what I'm telling you now. And I wonder how often Jesus is trying to tell us something, and we're so maybe, I don't know if I want to blame culture itself, but we're so culturally inundated with what we've been taught that we're not looking to the purity of what he's telling us in the moment. And I think that's a challenge for us. What is Jesus telling you? And I think it's a question we should always be asking ourselves, and I'm not saying I haven't asked this in the past, but I think it's a great question to ask again. Jesus, what are you telling me? And can you show it to me? Can you speak to me through your Spirit? And can you show me in your Word that I can be walking on a path that would really glorify you, and I would have my life based on what it is you want me to be doing? And I think that challenges us, because if we look at really what the Word of God tells us to do sometimes, we're going to find it really challenging. And then we have to rely on the Spirit of God to empower us to do it. So that's our challenge for today. Maybe during your time of prayer after you shut off this video, just take some time and say, Jesus, what do you want me to be doing? Would you show me? Speak to me through your Spirit, but Lord, would you also show me in your word that I may be truly on the right path to follow what you want me to do. That's the journey we're all on, and I hope it's something you're up for the challenge. And thanks so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow as we continue to journey through John.